Nostalgia is a powerful thing. It can be used as a tool to invoke many positive emotions, including comfort and happiness, but it can also invoke feelings of sadness, longing for a time that has far since passed us. When humans are gripped with nostalgia, it will attach itself onto the mind and will stay there. For many people, nostalgia brings back good memories from their past. Welcome back to Nostalgic Things from Your Childhood, your one stop for nostalgic things that you may hold near and dear to your heart. Tonight, we will look at 3 different pieces of nostalgia that will strike that chord in your mind and will bring you back to a time long ago. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, finally I am covering a food item. This is a pretty popular item and is remembered pretty fondly. Of course, I am talking about Kid Cuisine. Kid Cuisine, for those unaware, is a brand of frozen meals that made their debut in 1990, which were made to target children, of course. You definitely have seen these at supermarkets with their iconic blue box and colorful rainbow logo with the penguin mascot on it. At some point in time, every kid has asked their parents to buy these, myself included. But what do they actually have to eat? Well, a few of the meals have since been discontinued, but I've tried my best to find most of them. So first we will go over the ones that are still being made today. There are the All-Star Nuggets, which is a combination of chicken nuggets, corn, mac and cheese, and pudding. Next is the popcorn chicken meal, which also comes with corn and mac and cheese, but also comes with a brownie instead of the pudding. Then there are the mini corn dogs. Also recently, it seems that Kid Cuisine has introduced new meals called Level Up meals, which I believe are for older children. So for these, there's the Dino Nuggets with coated pretzels and chocolate sauce, the cheese quesadilla with vanilla cookies, and finally the mac and cheese bites with tongue-dyeing cookie gems. Then there are the meals that seem to have been discontinued, such as the KC's Karate Chop Chicken Sandwich, Pizza Painter Cheese Pizza, which was always a really fun one, Cacio Wave Mac and Cheese, KC's Primo Pepperoni Double Stuffed Crust Pizza, Twist and Twirl Spaghetti and Meatballs, Rock and Roll Taco Roll-Ups, Deep Sea Adventure Fish Sticks, and finally my personal favorite, KC's Constructor, which was a cheeseburger that you can construct however you wanted it or whether you wanted the cheese on it or not. This one was one of my favorites since it came with these little fruit snacks, which is something that was included on only a couple of the meals since the other ones usually came with pudding or a brownie. Nothing will be coming home from school and nuking one of these in your dingy microwave and turning on PBS or Cartoon Network. The instructions were pretty easy as well. ConAgra, the makers of Kid Cuisine, would also partner with many IPs to create meals based off of characters such as the Scooby-Doo shaped patty builder, SpongeBob shaped chicken nuggets, and Shrek shaped mac and cheese. I definitely remember the Shrek ones because for a few of them, they were running a promotion where if you found a green tray, you would win a trip to Universal Studios to meet Shrek, or more a guy in a Shrek costume. But I do remember these being run in 2010 for Shrek Forever After, and I was bummed I didn't find the green tray after constantly begging my parents to buy them and then opening the boxes to not find the green tray. So for many people growing up, this was a big part of their childhood since they were relatively cheap and you would see the commercials for them all the time. The mascot that many of you might remember is a penguin named KC, short for Kid Cuisine. However, the earlier mascots were a penguin named BJ and a polar bear named the Chef. KC always had an iconic look, however recently he got the Chuck E. Cheese treatment as they changed his look and the look of the boxes overall. Personally, and I think a lot of people would agree with me here, I absolutely hate the look of the box. The original design of the box jumped out at you and was very iconic. This design is just ugly. They even redid the website. Meet KC. Lots of kids recognize him. Adults too. Well, I recognize KC, but not whoever this abomination is. But anyway, Kid Cuisine is still being made today, being in its 34th year. Multiple generations have grown up with the meals, and hopefully more generations in the future will have the pleasure of growing up with this fine dining option. So, Kid Cuisine, until next time. For many people growing up in the mid to late 2000s, and if they had a computer, most likely you had a Windows PC that ran Windows Vista, an update to the Windows operating system that came out in 2007. Along with the system was a set of built-in games that people could play, and for those who were either too young to really explore the internet, or had no internet, or just really, really bad dial-up internet, these were their bread and butter. 9 games would come with the system: Chess, Free Cell, Hearts, Mahjong, Minesweeper, Solitaire, Spider Solitaire, and Inkball, which will probably be included in a future episode. However, I've neglected to talk about one of the games, and that's because I've saved the best for last. Purple Place, not Purple Place, was a game released on Windows Vista build 5219 on January 30th of 2007 and was also included in Windows 7, which came out in 2009, however was first introduced on Windows Vista. Let's boot up the game and see what there is to offer. So getting onto the main menu, there are 3 different places that we can click on, coinciding with 3 different minigames to play. The first one is a school, which features the game Purple Pears, a card matching game. The middle game is a bakery, which hosts the game Comfy Cakes, perhaps the most popular game in which you recreate cake combinations. And finally, there is a store, which features the game Purple Shop, which is a sort of code breaker game in which you're trying to decipher which combination of different features is on the person behind the curtain. Let's click on the first game, Purple Pears. First, you'll be prompted to select a difficulty. Selecting Easy difficulty will spawn a 5x5 grid with 5 cards across and 5 cards down. Intermediate will spawn 2 6x6 grids that the player will have to complete consecutively, and Advanced will spawn 4 consecutive 8x8 grids to solve. There are 4 cards to find: shamrocks, smiley faces, hearts, and gumdrops. Along with those, there are jester cards, which matches a random pair. In higher levels, there are also cards that appear, such as the cake batter station from Comfy Cakes that mixes the board up, a clock card which adds more time to the timer, and finally a chef card which matches 2 cards referring to cake. Players can also use a sneak peek coin to turn over all the remaining cards for a short time, although this counts as a turn when used. Let's move on to another game now. Next, we will go over Comfy Cakes. Clicking on the bakery brings you to a conveyor belt with several stations. The goal of the game is to fill orders in the bakery that are shown on the screen. The stations include a pan, which you can choose between a square, a heart, or a circle, then a station where you pick the batter, either chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla, then chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla icing, and finally a station where you pick toppings, including gumdrops, hearts, smiley faces, or shamrocks, the same cards from the previous game. After filling 5 orders, the game is over. However, if you send 3 incorrect orders, you lose the game. On higher levels, the number of stations increases. Intermediate adds a layering station after the batter station, as well as having the player make 2 cakes in succession, meaning while you're working on one cake, another piece of wax paper will appear on the conveyor belt, and Advanced adds a station at the end where you can add sugar or add flames to the cake. Enough of that game, let's move out of this one and move on to the last game. The final game is Purple Shop. Clicking on the shop will bring you inside of it. Taking the beginner route gives you a set of eyes, nose, and a mouth in 3 different colors of purple, red, and yellow that you can put on a character and try to crack the code of what combination is behind the curtain. Intermediate adds a hat feature as well as blue features, and Advanced adds shoes as well as the green features. Every feature is randomized with many different combinations of characters, so there is nearly an infinite amount of gameplay variations. Beginner has 27 possible solutions, Intermediate has 256 possible solutions, and Advanced has 3,125 possible solutions. The amount of guesses you get goes up as well. In Beginner, you get unlimited guesses. Intermediate, you are limited to 7 guesses. And Advanced, you are limited to 13 guesses. The goal of the game is simple: guess the right combination and win. And during Beginner and Intermediate, the game tells the player which features they got right. However, Advanced removes this. Well, that's enough of that. Let's close the game. It seems that when Windows 8 was released in 2012, that Purple Place and the rest of the games along with it were discontinued, although you can pretty much find any of these games online with a simple Google search. So technically, although not officially, you can still experience these games and take a trip down memory lane. Purple Place is still remembered fondly by those who played it back when it was available, and it still has a thriving community to this day. It's very interesting that a game such as this was able to resonate with millions of children who owned Windows PCs to such an extent that they still remember it 12 years after it was discontinued. It just goes to show you the power that nostalgia can have, even if it's something as small as a menial computer game. So, Purple Place, until next time.
Attention Kmart shoppers, there is a blue light special in part 3. I repeat, there is a blue light special in part 3. Thank you.
For many kids growing up in the 2000s, there were many stores that were ubiquitous in their childhoods, with a few notable ones being Walmart, Big Lots, Kroger, and Sears, which might be in a future edition. However, the one that I see most people gush over fondly is Kmart. Kmart was a chain of big box department stores, which is a format where stores are built in these giant boxes with many different departments. Kmart was similar to their contemporaries such as Big Lots, Walmart, and even Ames, which has since become defunct. Kmart got its start in 1899 when Sebastian Kretsch would open. Oh goodness, Kretsch. Hold on.
Kresge.
Okay. But anyway, Kresge's would expand over the next 7 decades, eventually rebranding to Kmart in 1977. At one point, Kmart was the leading store chain in the United States until it was passed by Walmart in November of 1990, to which it was the number 2 retailer. In 1990 as well, Little Caesars would open their first in-store restaurant in Kmart in Rochester, Michigan. Don't worry, we'll get to that. In 1991, they experimented with full-on retail to compete with Walmart with Super Kmart, which boasted a full grocery stock, a full-service deli, seafood counter, and bakery. At its peak in 1994, Kmart operated nearly 2,500 stores globally, 2,486 to be exact. Then there was Big Kmart, which focused more on clothing and pantry food, which was introduced in April of 1997 in Chicago. However, Kmart would start to decline around the turn of the millennium, with them filing for Chapter 11 protection in 2002. They would emerge from the protection in May of 2003, but not without closing over 600 stores. In 2004, they purchased Sears for $11 billion, forming the Sears Holding Corporation. However, they would continue to decline, eventually filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2018. As of 2024, only 6 Kmarts exist in the world, 3 in the US Virgin Islands, 1 in Miami, 1 in Long Island, and 1 in Guam. Kmart was a big part of a lot of people's childhoods, myself included. A lot of the nostalgia comes from the infamous blue light specials. At random intervals throughout the store's opening time, a flashing blue light would appear in a random department, along with an announcement over the intercom with the phrase, "Attention Kmart shoppers," a phrase which has since become iconic. The blue light specials would hold discounts for random items in certain departments, with them usually being marked down a hefty margin. These were first introduced in 1965, but they were retired by 1991. They would periodically bring them back in the 2000s, beginning in 2001, but ended in 2002. Then they brought them back in 2005, but were discontinued that year. Then they brought them back again in 2009 for Saturdays only for hour-long intervals, then were discontinued once again. Finally, they were brought back in 2015, to which they supposedly continue to this day, but I don't know, since Kmart's Wikipedia page does not provide any more information, and the nearest Kmart to me is over 10 hours away. From what I read online, people remember these blue light specials well. One story I read was from someone who remembers seeing people hang out at the Kmart cafe all day and wait for the blue light specials. So it seems like it worked well at keeping people in the stores to wait for these specials. The last thing I do want to touch on is the Kmart cafe that I just mentioned. The Kmart cafe was similar to other stores such as the Target cafe and even some restaurants at Walmart. You see, back then it was a nice novelty to have little restaurants inside these big box stores to, once again, keep people inside the stores. Some of these in-store restaurants still exist, with Walmart's usually having Subways or McDonald's inside their stores, and stores like Kroger and Target hosting Starbucks kiosks. I would know because I worked at one. These cafes would only have small food items, basically anything you can find at a sporting event concession stand, such as hot dogs, nachos, and pretzels. However, especially around the 90s, a lot of these new Kmart cafes were converted into Little Caesars pizza stations, which would serve Little Caesars pizza and crazy bread. Oh boy, out of everything I have talked about so far in this series, this is probably the one that hits closest to home. The Kmart near me closed in February of 2012, which really hurt a bit since I really enjoyed that store. Since that was the closest Little Caesars to my house, we would always go there when we wanted Little Caesars pizza. And Little Caesars was always regarded as the cheaper option, mainly because of their $5 hot and ready pizzas. Yes, they were still $5 back in the day. So whenever we would go pick the pizzas up, or if we were even just shopping at Kmart, instantly you would smell the garlic of the crazy bread, and I'm sure that was like that for a lot of other Kmarts with these pizza stations inside them. It's unfortunate that Kmart had to go away since there was a lot of nostalgia attached to it. Nowadays, Kmart seems to have transitioned to being mostly online shopping in order to compete with the likes of Amazon, but given how many people talk about Kmart today, it seems like it's not working. I'll talk about some more older retail stores in the future, as well as maybe some older aesthetics from current stores, but for now, I wanted to mention one of my personal favorites. So, Kmart, until next time. Alright, so let's do another bonus part. Because of the last volume having a part taken out, I'm gonna make it up to you. If you ever owned a Disney DVD from the 2000s, then there's a good chance that you've had this screen come up.
This Disney DVD is enhanced with Disney's Fast Play. Your movie and a selection of bonus features will begin.
This is the screen for Disney's Fast Play, a feature that was utilized on many Disney DVD and Blu-ray releases beginning in 2004. The history for how it came to be was actually pretty simple. With the big boom in DVDs around the early 2000s, parents were concerned with figuring out a way to introduce the new format to their children, since a lot of parents had trouble beginning the feature. You see, many DVDs before Fast Play would actually play all of the previews on the DVD before playing the actual feature, and the only way you can bypass this is if you selected the menu button on your DVD player remote, if it even had a button like that, and then select play on the actual DVD menu. When the Fast Play screen came up, it would start a narration from Tom Kane, which has since become very iconic, to which the viewer would have roughly 20 seconds to either select Fast Play or to go right to the DVD's main menu. If nothing was done, then the DVD would instantly go into Fast Play. Although Fast Play was marketed as a way to get viewers straight to the feature, if nothing was done on the screen, or even if Fast Play was pressed, it would still play all of the previews, which pretty much defeated the entire purpose of the feature to begin with some even going as far as to nickname the feature Disney's Slow Play. This created a situation where the screen would come up and then you would spend the next few seconds frantically searching for the remote to go straight to the main menu so you wouldn't have to sit through the previews. This also contradicts another purpose of Fast Play, where there was, and I quote, "no remote needed," which implies that there is no remote needed to get straight to the movie. Actually, it says on the website, and I quote, "Disney's Fast Play plays the feature plus a selection of bonus features without pressing a button." Tom Kane also outright contradicts the feature in his narration, which is included on the features menu. Quote, "Your movie and a selection of bonus features will begin automatically." Here's the kicker as well. They outright state that the trailers are included in Fast Play on the website, which contradicts Tom Kane, which contradicts the purpose of the feature. Yes, I know, it's very confusing. Quote, "Can I still skip through the trailers while in Disney's Fast Play?" Yes, you can either use the skip forward button, or you can press the menu button at any time to return to the main menu. Tom Kane also says this in his narration, quote, "To bypass Fast Play, select the main menu button at any time." Man, they were not very good at thinking through this, were they? Fast Play became pretty popular, being first introduced on the DVD release of 2004's Mickey, Donald, Goofy, The Three Musketeers. It would really take off around 2006. However, it seems to have been phased out around the 2010s, as Disney has been scaling back a lot of their physical media, which is a shame really. Although this was a pain back in the day, it's actually looked on pretty fondly by those who remember it, and it actually became sort of an internet meme for those remembering it not for the actual thing and the unbridled stress that it caused, but the moments that surrounded it and the time that it coincided with, being around the time that many were growing up. So in case you ever watch a Disney DVD in the future and see that screen, be sure to suppress those Vietnam level flashbacks and don't go too crazy. So, Disney's Fast Play. Until next time. Nostalgia is a tool that can bring people into another world, a world in which they can forget their problems in the real world and just remember what it was like to be younger. It just seemed like everything was better when you were younger. However, that shouldn't take away from your life here in the present. We should remember the things from our past, but that's all it should be. Eventually, we just have to face the facts and grow up. But it doesn't hurt to remember something and keep it in the back of your mind, so that if things do seem bleak, you can come back to it and reminisce on the times to make you feel better. This has been Nostalgic Things from Your Childhood Volume 5. My name is DJR. Thank you for watching, and until next time.